This episode of Places She Shapes is sponsored by JAC Project Management. What happens when your comedy is so sharp that politicians think you might actually be one of them? Today's guest, Rosie Holt, trained as an actor, waitress between auditions, and hustled her way through fringe theatre before turning to stand-up. She was heckled, ignored, but refused to give up until she found her comedic voice. But when the pandemic shut everything down, Rosie started filming satirical sketches from her bedroom. One went viral, then another, until she was suddenly at the centre of the national conversation, with millions of views and even real MPs demanding her resignation from a job she didn't have. In this episode, Rosie reflects on her journey from drama school to political satire, the highs and lows of social media fame, and how humour can cut through in ways headlines can't. This is Rosie's story, and it's proof that shaping your place isn't limited to boardrooms and building sites, but also the stages, screens, and conversations that define culture.
Okay, let's take it from the top.
Rosie, welcome to Places She Shapes at Abbey Road Studios. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're a comedian.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about you as a child.
As a child, well, I'm from a big family, so I'm one of 5.
Me too.
Sons. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Where do you come in?
I'm the second youngest.
Okay.
How about you?
Oldest.
Oh, that must be quite a different experience.
Come on, tell me about your experience.
Well, it was really fun. I love being part of a big family. And I think actually being sort of near the end is quite good. My parents were a bit more relaxed, I think.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
As the oldest, I agree.
Yeah.
The youngest have it much easier.
My elder siblings are like, no, it's very different with us. But so we grew up in the country, very happy childhood, and less happy at school, but I was very happy at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why not so happy at school?
I think I when I was at school, I think I did every position of being on the popularity scale there was. So I think I went from when I was much younger, I was very popular at school, and then when I was 12, my popularity took a complete nosedive, and then I was in the wilderness for about 2 years, and then I kind of built my way back up, and then by the end, I was sort of in the middle.
What happened at 12?
I don't know really. I think I'm not really sure. I think I was a bit of a late developer. I don't think that helped, and yes, it's something. It kind of changed within the scope of a year, and I'm not quite sure what happened. And then my parents took me out and put me in another school, and then my confidence was badly bruised. So then I was quite shy, which was not like me. So it took a while to build up again. Yeah.
So what age were you when you changed schools?
13,
Okay.
12, 13.
Okay. And what did you enjoy at school? Were you academic, sporty, drama?
I was not sporty. I hated sport with such a passion.
Okay.
I loved English and art and drama.
Okay.
And I liked history, and I found maths and science incredibly difficult. And PE I dreaded more than anything. So I was so bad at it. And I'm naturally quite physically lazy as well.
Okay. What did your parents do?
My dad was a solicitor, and my mum is a novelist. She was a writer. Yeah.
Wow. So when you were little, she was writing books.
So when I was little, she was supply teaching, and then when I was in my teen, and then she started writing. She started writing articles for newspapers and magazines, and then when I was in my teens, she published her first novel with Simon
Wow.
Schuster, and it was a bestseller. So
Wow. Amazing.
So,
You must have been really proud of her.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So GCSEs, A-levels, or college, or neither?
No, I did I did both of those, did GCSEs and A-levels, and then I went to university. And then after uni, I spent a year just sort of waitressing and making money, and then I went to drama school, went to Lambda,
Okay.
and I went there for 3 years.
Can you tell me a bit about that experience?
I loved it. I loved drama school. It was so much fun. I was quite frustrated at university because I'd gone there. I really wanted to be an actor, and then my parents said, and I agreed with them, and I still agree with them. They said, "Well, it's a really difficult profession, and it's kind of horrible." And my mum said I wanted to be an actor, and then I went to uni, and I realised there were other things I was interested in, and that might happen to you. And I thought that's fair enough. So I did English literature at Manchester Uni, and I found it really frustrating. I found it frustrating that I was only doing stuff sort of six hours a week, and I didn't really find my people. And I did love studying novels, and especially kind of in my second year. But I felt very frustrated at university, and so when I got into drama school, it was the best thing because it was suddenly people like me who were really sort of passionate about creating things. Everyone was so talented, and you were spending all day acting and sort of pretending. It was the best thing ever.
So when you left university, was the plan always to go to drama school, or did that come about in that year?
No,
between?
that was the plan.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you have to, I'm assuming you have to audition
Yes.
for drama school. So
Yeah.
what does an audition look like?
Well, bear in mind, this was quite a while. This was like, this is a long time ago. So things might have changed, but there was usually, with the big drama schools like Lambda or Guildhall, RADA, Bristol, Vic, there was usually 2 or 3 rounds. And often the first round you would just be going in front of a panel and preparing to usually a classical piece and a modern day piece and performing that. And then the usually, God, I'm sorry, it's taking me back. Second or third, it would be more seeing if you could take direction, or they would watch you interact with other actors and that kind of thing. I remember for Bristol Old Vic, the recall, I had to dance, and I'm an appalling dancer. And I remember losing where I was going and going into the wall, and that being particularly embarrassing, and thinking, I'm not getting in here.
So how many do you apply for? You apply for them all and see what happens?
I think I just applied for the top ones, as I thought, because I knew how difficult the profession was. So I thought, well, there's no point going unless I'm going to go to one of the best. I might as well.
Yeah.
So I applied for Lambda and RADA and Guildhall, Bristol Old Vic and Rose, Bruford and Central. It's the ones I applied for.
So you had to audition for all 6 of those?
Yeah, and then you and then it's got, you have to pay for the auditions, and yeah.
You have to pay for the audition?
Well, you used to be able to have to, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
Used to pay for auditions.
And at school, had you done drama or amateur dramatics, or had you been on the stage? Had you done a bit of it?
I did drama at school, and then at university I loved the Drama Society, and I got involved in that.
Yeah. And what did your parents think about this? You'd done your university bit with something a bit wider ranging.
My parents were brilliant, actually, because they kind of felt they discouraged me from it until it became clear that I really wanted to do it, and then they were 100% supportive.
Amazing.
Which I think is kind of the right way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 years at drama school.
Yeah.
Then what happens? I mean, that must be terrifying.
Yeah,
leaving drama school.
Yeah, completely. Because I think when you're at somewhere like Lambda, you go at the beginning, you're thinking, I'm at Lambda. I'm going to be really famous. I'm really good. I'm going to do really well. And you don't really listen to the statistics about it only being sort of a few people in your year that become really successful. And so the third year was really stressful because suddenly, I got on so well with everybody in my year, and suddenly people are getting picked up by really big agents. Some people are leaving early because they're getting parts in films, and then some of you are getting absolutely nothing, and you're suddenly all at unequal footing. And it's really tricky. And I left without an agent, and that was really scary, because I suddenly thought, God, this is terrible. What does this mean? And then I got my first job because I found out they were doing a stage show of Wuthering Heights, and I loved that book. And I rang up and I tried to get an audition, and they wouldn't see me because I didn't have an agent.
They being
The casting directors or whatever.
Okay.
And so what I did, which was so mad, I found out where they were doing the audition. I can't remember how. They used to have some kind of they used to have sort of a newsletter, which is now long gone, where sometimes they would say where the auditions were going to be. And I turned up at the audition, and I remember I was wearing like this big coat and a hat, and I'd Googled,
in disguise.
yeah. And I Googled the director so I knew what he looked like, and I waited outside until he went in, and then I was going to go up to him, and then I was too scared. And so then what I did was I was thinking I need to do something, and I wrote this mad letter saying, you may have seen me outside in the coat and hat. I couldn't get an audition, but I think you should see me because I'm perfect for this role, and I know this book back to front. And I took this letter, and so I went into to the studios, and I went up the stairs, and I went to the reception, and I said, I have a very important letter for this director. Yeah. Can you make sure that he gets it immediately?
Yeah.
And then I went out and thought, oh, I've
So this is the same day as the coat and hat day, or is
yeah,
it different?
Same day as the coat and hat day.
So
I just sort of been waiting outside, and I'd written this letter
whilst in your coat and hat.
Yeah.
Okay. You take it
like
in.
A mad person.
Okay. Yeah.
And then so then I went outside, and I thought, wow, that's that. And I went to get a bus, and as I did, my phone went, and they said, we've just got your note. We actually have a free spot in about 10 minutes. And I said, oh. So I came back, and I came in, and he was very like, well, obviously you don't really need time to look at the script because you know the book so well. And I was like, yes, I do know the book so well. And I totally aced the audition. I think because I was so like,
and what part did you read
Kathy. Cool. So I got the role. Well, then I got a recall, and I got the role, and it was amazing. It was round Wales, so it was like Theatr Clwyd and Aberystwyth and all around Wales. But the only problem with it was because it was around Wales and it was travelling, I couldn't really get any agents to come and see it. So I had this incredible first job, and then sort of nothing, which was incredibly
so the way to get an agent is you get the gig, you are amazing, you get agent, if you were in London it'd be much easier, but you get the agent to come and see you, and they go, Rosie's amazing at this, I must be her agent. That's kind of how it works. Is that how it works?
Can do. I mean, I think it's very hard because it can be a bit of a chicken and an egg situation. Certainly, you're kind of going, well, I can't get this job without an agent, but I can't get an agent without the job. Mm-hmm. So it's always a bit hard. And you get, certainly when I was out of drama school, sometimes there's people doing fringe shows and they're trying to invite agents, and often agents say no, or they say, oh, maybe. And then on the day they just don't turn up. And there's all of that kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, I didn't get an agent until I started doing comedy. So after Wuthering Heights, I went sort of back to waitressing, and then I got the following year I got a job, and a truly bizarre job, going around Europe, doing Romeo and Juliet, and it was mad. It was mad.
Why was it mad?
It was mad on so many levels. It was going around schools to German children who didn't understand what was going on, apart from when someone would say, I am dead, and then they'd be like, ah, because it was the only bit they got. And Romeo was about 30 years older than me, and we had this really elaborate set that we all had to put up ourselves every time we got to this school.
So you're doing Romeo and Juliet in English to German school children, okay, with a Romeo who's 30 years older than you.
I don't know if you've seen League of Gentlemen, but in League of Gentlemen they have this sketch which is just them going around performing to schools, and it's called Legs Akimbo. It was a bit like that. I was incredibly eccentric. Yes, so I tried to. It was just very hard to get seen for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I did, I felt so much pressure that I'd managed to get in the room somewhere that I'd often screw up. I not always screw up the audition, but it wasn't like some of my friends who were getting several auditions a week.
Yeah. So you've started off in sort of traditional acting, if you like.
Yes.
How do you go from acting to comedy?
I was living with when I left drama school, I was living with some actors who were and still are incredibly successful, and I was also living with a stand-up comedian called Harriet Kemsley, and she just started doing stand-up when I was living with her. So I would go with her when you start doing stand-up, often you're doing weird open mic nights, and you often need like the way it works is they go, you've got to bring a person with you to perform so that they can build up an audience. So I would be her plus one a lot of the times. So I'd come in and I suddenly was exposed to this kind of world of stand-up comedy.
So you were going as a sort of audience member?
Yes, just support my friend.
Okay.
Who's now a very successful stand-up comic.
Mm.
And then so that was kind of my first kind of introduction into stand-up comedy. But I thought, oh, horrible! I don't want to do that. And then I wrote a sort of comedy film, and guy was working on it. So you're so funny. You should try stand-up comedy. And I think what was really appealing to me about stand-up was when you're an actor, you are completely reliant on someone else giving you a job.
Mm-hmm.
So if nobody is employing you, you're doing nothing creative. You're just like what I did. I did so many different jobs, like waitressing or a receptionist or PA or there's nothing creative.
There's no
happening.
channel for your creativity.
What was really exciting about stand-up was you could write something, and then 2 nights later you could find a open mic night to perform it in London.
So you're supporting your friend, and then how did that writing process? Do you just sit down one day and go, I'm going to write something, or did an idea form and then you wanted to get it down on paper?
After I did this I'd written this short comedy sketch that I put online, and somebody said to me, one of Harriet's friends said, you should try doing stand-up comedy. And he said, come and do my night, it's a new material night. And I went and did it, and it was comically appalling. When I got there, when I got there, the crowd were really aggressive. And I watched this man go on in front of me, and they were going, boo, you're rubbish, you're shit. And he started putting on it, and then he put on a stupid hat, and he was like, what about this? Did you find this funny? Did you find this funny? And they were like, no, you suck. And then Harriet had said to one of her friends, can you look out for Rosie, because she hasn't done stand-up comedy before.
Yeah.
And he went on, and then he was getting a few laughs, but he turned on the crowd, and he was like, you're all horrible and I don't need you. I'm performing at the Comedy Store. And then they started booing him. And then he got off stage and he said to me, I said I'd look after you, but this is the worst audience I've ever encountered. I'm out. And then he left. And then before I came on, they started going, no more comedy, no more comedy, no more comedy. And the MC went, no, wait, there's one more act. And one of the audience members got up and went, where is he? Where is he? And the MC went, no, it's a she. And then I went, hello. And then I got on stage, and I think they felt sorry for me because I was sort of a little woman. And then the head heckler passed out because he was so drunk.
Excellent.
So I just did my set to complete silence, and then at the end, the head heckler woke up and went, "You were great." And after that, I thought that was mad. I'm not doing that again. And then I didn't do stand up for about 6 months, and then I thought I started playing the ukulele. I don't know why. I bought a ukulele, and I thought maybe if I go on stage and I just sing silly songs, and that seemed a lot less scary than just doing straight stand up.
Something to hide behind, perhaps?
Yeah, totally. And I'm not saying there are some amazing musical comedians, but for me, yes, I think it was very much a crutch. So I started doing stand-up, doing read little songs on a ukulele, and which were very kind of crowd pleasing, and that was quite fun. And then after that, I thought, right, it's quite limiting what you can do with the ukulele. So then I started doing sort of straight stand up. So that was how I started doing stand up, and it really did scratch that kind of creative itch in a way I wasn't expecting.
You've really glossed over it, but I just want to go back to you wrote a little comedy sketch.
Yes.
You put it online. I mean, that's quite a big thing. Nobody apart from you in this room has done that. How did you feel about putting something out into the world? I mean,
I think it was fine because it was on YouTube, so you don't really know how it's going to do. At the time I was working at a gym. I hate gyms. I was working as a receptionist at a gym with this very funny man who used to work in TV and then was having a bit of a life crisis where he wasn't sure what he wanted to do, so was suddenly working at this gym. And we wrote this sketch together.
Okay.
And then we just thought, and then I knew so many actors, and I can't remember who I found. Someone agreed to film it. I can't even remember how I sort of pulled it together. It was just a few various people I knew. And then I put it on the internet. And what was nice about it was, it only got, I think, a few thousand views, but it was people, there was enough people going, this is really good, and some people who I really admired. Mark Ravenhill, who's this amazing playwright, who'd worked with me at Lambda, sort of said, this is really funny. And various people that I thought, oh, maybe there's something in this. And that was, so after that, then I thought, how can I, maybe comedy is the way. And I think initially with comedy, whenever I'd seen it at uni, I thought, oh, this is not for me. It seemed the comedy I saw was so sort of, sorry, my throat's going. The comedy I'd seen was quite sort of laddie. And then I realised through Harriet and seeing more comedy that I think the UK comedy scene is so good. There are so many brilliant comedians, but there are also such a variety of comedians. You can do so many different things, not just sort of stand-up and clown and musical comedy, but also just within stand-up there's surreal, and then there's more blue. I think it's a really exciting art form. So yes, I can't remember where I was heading with that sentence.
Yeah, no, I like it. Thank you for clarifying, because I just think for you, because you do so much online, which we'll come to.
Yeah,
it's quite a big jump for someone to go, I'm going to put something on YouTube. Like that's quite a big thing, but for you, perhaps it doesn't feel like that. But
I think, well, it's funny because back then social media hadn't really taken off in the way it was. I mean, we're talking about, this is about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
No, I started doing stand-up 10 years ago. So, and I did that sketch, I think, a year or two before that. So yeah, maybe 11, 12 years ago. So back then social media it was just YouTube, and YouTube seemed to be this kind of unknowable thing where you can, no one really knew why something took off and why something didn't. And mine didn't particularly take off, but it was enough that I thought that there's something here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had this first comedy show, and there's a bit of heckling yeah. What happens then?
Well, then as I said, I didn't do anything for 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing, but I was just working terrible jobs. And then I decided that then I started doing the ukulele, and I started going back to open mic nights.
Yeah.
And then I dropped the ukulele after about a year and was just doing straight stand-up. And then from doing stand-up, then I'd be asked to, people would ask you to be in their sketches and things. And then I got cast in this show. I'd met along the way this very talented man called Dan Clarkson, who wrote this franchise called Potted Potter, which has been incredibly successful, which is all the Harry Potter novels in like 1 hour with 2 actors.
Okay. And
it's kind of goes around America. It doesn't really perform here because he's under sort of various legal things with J.K. Rowling's estate order. I don't understand it. But anyway, I'd met him through an ex-boyfriend actually through acting. Anyway, we sort of kept in touch, and he saw some of my comedy shows, and then he wrote this show called The Crown Jewel, which was a parody of Netflix's The Crown, being with two actors, a man and a woman, and again, all of the Crown in 1 hour. And he thought of me, and he pushed for me, and he got the producer to come and see one of my comedy shows. Yeah. And so I got cast in that, and that was incredibly good fun. So that performed in London. We got amazing reviews from all the broadsheets. It was me and Brendan Murphy, who's an amazing improviser, comedy actor, and from that, I signed with. I'd already picked up an agent from doing stand-up comedy, but then I signed with a sort of a good agent from that, and then we were about to do a 6-month tour in America of The Crown Jewel, and then the pandemic happened, and it literally happened I kid you not, the very week we were due to start rehearsing. So it was, because I was so excited, because I was thinking, oh, great, I'm going to, 'cause before then I was still doing other jobs alongside and doing the other bits of stand-up, but this was going to, it was a really nicely played job in America for 6 months. Amazing. And then, then the pandemic hit. Okay. So then I was at home, I went back to my parents, and like everyone was going a bit mad. And then I posted, it was during the Black Lives Matter protests, and I read, I was on Twitter a lot, as I think everybody was. Do you remember they even stopped like making new TV? So everyone was everyone was like glued to social media. And Black Lives Matter was just obviously an incredible movement. And then in Bristol, and I was with my parents in Bath, and in Bristol, which was really near, they pulled down the statue of Edward Colston, who, because of he was a slave trader. And there was a furious sort of debate about it, of people saying this is brilliant. Why are there all these slave traders and their statues sort of up and everywhere? And then on the other side, people going, you're erasing history, and this is appalling, this is vandalism. And Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, put up a post saying, we're taking down the statue in, I think it was in the Isle of Dogs, because of its connotations to slavery. And there were these mad comments underneath from people going, how dare you? You are erasing history. This is this is so authoritarian. You're taking away our voice. And so I was scrolling through all these, and I thought, this is funny. I thought it was funny. And I wrote a sketch, and the next day I put up a video pretending to be a woman who was going, they're erasing history, taking down these statues. They're erasing history just like Stalin did, who, incidentally, I have a statue of in my garden, and not because I love Stalin, but because I love history. And I put this up, and it went viral, and a lot of people thought it was real. And I had people going, you need to take down the statue of Stalin.
So you created a kind of character, had you?
Yeah, I just did it like it was a talking head.
Okay.
Like she was being interviewed, and she was going, this is, it was really mad. And then, I had people commenting underneath thinking, I had a statue of Stalin up in my garden, and I was going, I'm not going to take him down. He looks good by the pond. It was really silly. So that happened. And then I thought, oh, there's something here. So I started posting up satirical videos. And then also politically, we were in a really interesting time, because we had Boris Johnson's government, who were being, in my opinion, absolutely diabolically awful over the pandemic. And then I think, how long after? Maybe about 6 months after that first video, I posted another video when Boris Johnson came out, and he said, it was when Sue Gray was investigating Partygate, and they were asking him, had you been to any of these parties? And he was going, I can't say, you'll have to wait Sue Gray's report. So I took that audio of the reporters and then I pretended to be an MP. And I had my MP saying, I don't know whether I was at any of the parties, and I won't know until Sue Gray tells me if I was at a party. And doing the whole, if if a tree falls and no one's there to hear it, if a party happens and no one's there to report it, did it happen? So I did that, and then that went really, I mean, that went really crazy. So
Yeah.
I had I think it got 6 million views, but I had 3 standing MPs calling for my resignation, and I had
From your
AC Grayling
from your
saying,
non-existent
the eminent
MP room.
philosopher, saying I was appalling, and Philip Pullman, the author, saying he was aghast at my behaviour. It was so nuts. I was sitting at home watching these people that I really admire being aghast at my made-up MP. And yeah, so from there, things really, really kind of snowballed.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah. So what's your relationship with social media like now?
This episode of Places She Shapes is sponsored by JAC Project Management. JAC have been delivering stunning offices, providing expert advice, honest leadership, and a can-do attitude since 1979. Project management, cost consultancy, and contract administration for office fit-out and relocation projects. JAC creates spaces where people and businesses can thrive. You can find out more at jac-group.co.uk.
So what's your relationship with social media like now?
Well, what's been difficult the last year, so I built up a following on Twitter. So I built up a following to when I posted that first video of in Black Lives Matter. I had sort of 3,000 followers, and then by the end I had 300,000 followers. But then when Elon Musk took over, it just Twitter just completely fell apart, and now it's horrible. And I don't like posts. I still do post videos on it, but you don't get you get tiny even though I've still got quite a lot of. I mean, I lost a lot of followers when Elon Musk joined, but you don't get much engagement to your work, and the engagement you do get is just a cesspit of far right or sex bots. It's just very unpleasant. So Twitter, I think he's really wrecked, and I think it's a real shame, because I think people can always say that Twitter was toxic, and it did definitely have a toxic element. But I think there was something really exciting about it, because you could get news really fast. You would see what all the journalists were saying and reporting, and then really interesting, intelligent commentators would talk about things. And when I sort of made a video, I felt like I was entering into a pre-existing conversation.
Yeah, I understand. With
really interesting people, and that is all now gone. So now when you post something, you're just getting the dregs of society, really. So that's, yeah. So that I mean, that said, I did, even before Elon Musk, there was definitely some hairy moments in social media, because I think we've become so tribal in the UK and in America. But
can you give me some examples of those hairy moments?
I remember there was a protest in Bristol. I can't even remember. I think it was about the police bill, police and sentencing bill, which was awful, and it was kind of really curtailing on protest. But there was a protest in Bristol, and a policeman got attacked, and a police station, a police car, and it was all quite ugly. And I think, and then I was seeing lots of people on the left on Twitter sort of celebrating this and thinking, yeah. And I thought, well, this is violence. And I tweeted something about it, and it was a serious tweet, which was stupid of me, because I'm not I'm not a commentator. I don't know what I'm talking. I'm good at doing satirical comedy sketches. But anyway, I posted something like just saying I think this is bad, and I got such huge backlash from it. And then I had people on the left saying you're a traitor, and you pretend to be left wing, but you're really a right wing monster. I had people bombarding me with images of police brutality and saying, "Do you like this? Is this the kind of thing you?" It's just so insane. And the best thing, a comedian friend of mine said to me, he said, "But Rosie, why did you post it? Like, why were you posting? Why should anyone care about your opinion?" Which I thought was really true. I thought, why should anyone care about my opinion? It was quite a good lesson for me, because I think so often we can kind of, now if you're a comedian or an actor or anything, people want to know your opinion on everything. But your opinion doesn't mean anything. My opinion doesn't mean anything. I don't know. I'm always changing my mind on things. So I thought it was pretty silly and arrogant of me to just post something like that. I don't think I deserved all the abuse. I think it was mad. But I think it did kind of make me rethink. The other time which was really hairy, was when I posted a sketch which was a bit dark, and it was what was it? It was Love Island contestant ends up in Priti Patel's detention centre by mistake. And it was really stupid. And I did it, and I was kind of wanted to do it to criticise. Priti Patel was threatening to put through some really quite scary measures about how if there's an asylum seeker basically drowning in the sea, you shouldn't save them, all these crazy things. And I was trying to satirise that. And I remember saying to my brother, "Is people going to get what I'm doing here, or are they going to think I'm making fun?" He went, no, it's great. And I put it up, and for the first hour it was getting lots of sort of people liking it. And then someone wrote underneath saying this is racist and homophobic. And then I had a backlash, and I felt so sick. I remember saying to my friend, I said, "I think I'm getting cancelled." And it was quite scary, because you're sort of thinking, you feel like, oh God, everyone thinks I'm something I'm not, and this definitely wasn't my intention. And is this the end of my career? It's so sort of fragile. But actually, most people got what I was trying to do, and it was fine. But there was enough sort of voices that I felt, and also you feel appalling, because you think, well, it doesn't matter if my intention has got lost, and that's what people are taking from it, then that's bad. But I think what was upsetting about that it was the assumption of bad faith. I thought, well, you can look at my work and know that I am that I'm very interested in refugee rights and human rights, and the idea that I would post something mocking refugees is insane.
Yeah.
So I think I found the assumption of bad faith from some people, and like one or two comedians who I knew, quite upsetting. So those were the hairy moments.
Thank you. So doing what you do, it's very entrepreneurial. You're, I guess, to a point, you're self-employed. How do you feel about that?
Yes, I think there are good and bad points to it. I think I've got friends who are actors and who are successful actors, but there will still be times when they're just not getting anything. And I think in comedy you've got much more control, which is really, really good. That said, it's still quite unstable. And I find also, because I do political things for ages, what I was known for was mocking the Tory government. And I did two UK tours on stage doing that, and I wrote a book. And when Labour got in, I suddenly thought, what do I was happy Labour got in.
Now what?
But yeah, I thought, now what? And you're the only one who can really work that out. And that was a bit, I just was going to say hairy again. It was a bit hairy. I was sort of thinking, God, what do I do? And then I also found, because I was having trouble coming up with things, for a period, I wasn't getting much work. I'm not sure what to do with the Labour government. And then also I was just a bit sad for other reasons. And then the problem is because I was a bit sad, and suddenly I was having to sort of rethink how I wanted to satirize this new government. I didn't want to just satirize them for the sake of it, and just because I do believe that whether you're on the left or right, everything should be, you should criticize everything.
Yes.
But I didn't want to do it for the sake of it. And I also felt that Labour had just got in and I wanted to give them a chance. But also Twitter, that had been my platform, I felt was a bit decimated. And then I had a breakup and I was very sad, and and the problem is that didn't make for a very creative state of mind. Okay. And so I just couldn't write and think of comedy. And I was reading the news and it was all Israel-Palestine, which was so sad. If I had been still doing an office job,
you could have just turned up and
done it. Yeah. As it was, I was sort of sitting there going, I can't come up with things.
Yeah.
And I was doing gigs and I was hating them, regardless of whether they went well or not. I was just hating them.
Yeah.
And also partly because my material was badly needed updating. But also I just took a few months out. And weird aspect of my job that if there are things to be angry about, I know what to write about. So in the last couple of months, I've been feeling very worried about the fact that we have a government who, on the one hand, you had like a far right demonstration sort of 2 weeks ago with thousands and thousands, only 25 arrests. And then the weekend before, you had these peaceful elderly protesters getting bundled into police vans because they were holding up signs. So suddenly I felt there was things to talk about again. And so the last few months have been great because they haven't been great. They've been awful. They've been awful for the world, but they've been great in terms of going, I know what I want to say. And I feel like I have something to say again. There's definitely a difference between stage and screen. So I'm really, really lucky that, well, not lucky, but I'm glad that I had, I know some people who there were a lot of comedians who suddenly got big over lockdown because everyone on social media, and some who did afterwards were suddenly going, right, I should do something on stage, and they hadn't before. And I think it takes a long, anyone who does stand-up comedy will tell you, it takes a good few years to be any good, I think. So I felt really glad that I had that in my back pocket, that I had been doing stand-up and I had trained as an actor. So moving it from screen to stage was it was something that was exciting to do. And the first show I did was a bit scary because I suddenly thought I've done stand-up and I've done acting, but I haven't done character stand-up, and how does that work? And I kind of had to work that out. And I think my initial Edinburgh show was a bit, in lots of ways, was a bit messy because I was throwing so much at it. But by the time it got to it got to a tour, it was a show I was really proud of. But yes, you are definitely writing in a different way. I think one thing I really love about stand-up is you're kind of in, I know you're the only one talking, you are kind of in a relationship with the audience, and you're bouncing off the audience. And if the audience reacts a certain way, you react a certain way.
Yeah.
It's so live. And actually it's much more exhilarating in some ways than acting. I find it it's so much more frightening than acting, because an audience is so much more truthful for a stand-up, and they can be quite brutal. But if an audience is having a great time, it's the best thing ever, because you're better and you're working off how people are reacting, and you're interacting.
You're getting an immediate reaction.
Yeah. And putting something on screen is very, very different to that. I mean, I love it, and I really enjoy making a sort of a small sketch and putting it on screen, but it's a totally different thing. When I was starting, it's different now. People kind of know who I am, but when I started, when a man walks onto a stage, people are like, this man is going to make us laugh. This is a funny comedian. When a woman goes on the stage, their first thought is, it's a woman. So you've got the first 2 minutes, I think, are a lot harder as a woman comedian. I think it's better, but I still think it's the case where you have to really kind of show the audience that you're funny.
Why is this?
Because people don't think women are funny.
Why?
Because of the Bible. No, I don't know. I think it's so funny. And every female comic will tell you this, the amount of times I had someone coming up to me, and it was usually a woman who would come up to me going, I don't usually find female comics funny, but you were really good. And you go, how many female comics have you seen? And they go, oh, they couldn't name any. And you go, we haven't seen any, so you don't know. That there is now, even in the last 10 years from when I started, there's a lot more female comics out there. So I'm sure it is changing. But I think traditionally people did not see women as funny. It was about men. Men were funny. Men were clever. And I think it's been a lot, which is so silly. I think what's interesting as well is, I remember when I was at school in my sixth form, and I had these two friends, Ruth and Madeline, who were the funniest people ever. And I think there is something about female humour that's so brilliant that doesn't always... I think it took me a long while to work out how to be comfortable being funny in front of men, actually. I think I knew I was funny and I knew I could make people laugh. But I think I would choose to do... I think when I was younger, I would choose to do that by being a bit daffy and a bit silly, because I felt like that was the way you could be funny as a woman. And if it was being clever, I think I was a bit scared of doing that. And I'm not even talking about on stage. I just mean sort of conversationally. General. And so I think if I had been a man, I'd have tried stand up way earlier than I did.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
And when you put together a comedy for the stage, do you think about those first 2 minutes? Do you?
Not anymore. I think what is great, and this is total privilege, is that now people who come to see my shows, they already sort of know my work and they like me. If however, I'm doing, so I'm now gigging a lot, so I'll just do sort of, 20 minutes or 10 minutes at a club. That will be to lots of people who don't necessarily know who I am. But because what's different for me, as opposed to what I used to do, is I'm not going up I'm going up in character. So that already gives me... People are already going to a bit like, oh, but that's quite fun to play with because you're a character. So
that acting piece is still
it's it feels like a different thing.
Do you get nervous before you go on stage?
Yes.
How do your nerves present themselves?
I think one of the good things about I don't know, on the whole, I think a bit of nerves can be a good thing. But if you're too nervous, if you gabble your words, but it's not very often that happens anymore. But yeah, I do get nervous doing stand up.
So
because
before you go, when you're standing on the side of the stage,
I feel a little bit sick and scared.
And how do you deal with that? The reason I ask is because a lot of women have if you ask them in a performance review, what's the thing? I hate public speaking.
Yes.
You do it for a living in front of audiences who are paying to see you.
Well, what's funny is public speaking, I find fine. I don't find that nerve-wracking. And acting, on stage. I might get a bit of nerves and a bit of an adrenaline, but I don't get nervous as I get for stand-up. I think it's because stand-up, the stakes are so much higher. You can literally have someone boo you from the audience if you're really bad.
Yeah.
So what do I do? I think it's I don't know. I think it's one of those things of just knowing yourself and going okay, I know I'm going to feel a bit nervous, so I'm going to make sure that I'm there on time. I'm going to make sure that I have water with me.
So
I'm
it's
going to
all the prep.
All the prep. Yeah.
Can we talk about Bridget Jones quickly?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Tell me about that. What was your part? How was the experience?
Well, it was a very small part, but it was really fun. I was playing Lizzie the PA.
This is in Mad About the Boy, the most recent.
The most recent one.
Yeah.
It was really fun. I think what they were trying to do is which I thought was really lovely, is a lot of the small parts in that film are peppered by British comics. So
amazing.
So there's lots of really, really talented people who are just there with a few lines. It was I loved it. I hadn't done any film before, and everyone was so nice to me, and Renée Zellweger was lovely. And it was great.
How did the job come about?
So it came through my agent, and initially working title. I think they'd seen my sketches, and they just wanted me to come in. They wanted to hear the script, not with the actors, but just with other people, because they wanted to. I think they needed to cut the script or something, and so from that they ended up getting a part. But yeah, it was a really fun experience.
Amazing. Would you like to do more film?
Yeah, that'd be great. Just if anyone's listening.
Let's hope so. I just wanted to talk about social media a little bit and your thoughts on where it's going. What's next for social media?
What's next for social media? I don't know. Someone was saying to me the other day, they said social media is dead, it's dying. And I said, well, it doesn't look like it is. And he goes, no, if you go on any platform now, you're not getting all the people that you follow, you're not seeing all of their content all the time. You're getting bombarded with AI or all other stuff. It's not, you can't build something on social media anymore. I don't know if that's true. I mean, as I say, Twitter, I think, is disgusting.
What's your main platform now?
So at the moment, I think it's Instagram, where I have a much smaller following, but it's growing. But I'm also on Blue Sky and YouTube and all those things.
Yeah.
Where's it going? I don't know. I think if you can learn anything from Twitter, or X, as I refuse to call it, is you'd think nothing is stable, and it's always growing all the time. I mean, there used to be things, I don't remember if you remember Vine, which was those tiny little...
I know a lot about Vine now.
Did you used to do Vine?
No, but I know a man that did.
But yeah, these platforms, I know a few people who have really big platforms on Vine, and then Vine suddenly went.
Yeah.
So it's always, but I think it can be...
So do you feel like you need to spread the love just in case?
Yes.
One...
Yes, I think I sometimes think my problem was I shouldn't have put all my eggs in the Twitter basket. But I think there's lots of really good things about social media. I know there are some really, really toxic things, but I also I think it's really great that you can kind of create something on your phone and put it on the internet and share it. I think that's really cool. And also, I mean, it's why everyone is so exercised about what's going on in the Middle East, because we're seeing it played out on social media.
Who's been an unexpected mentor for you?
Who's been an unexpected mentor? I don't know. I really, I don't know at all. Sorry. I think there are so many comics I admire who I think are brilliant. I wouldn't know if I'd call any of them mentors. But I definitely think there is a lot to be inspired with and from. Yeah.
Has there been a personal event, a loss, a relationship, a turning point that shaped or reshaped your sense of purpose as a performer?
It's funny, isn't it? I mean, when I think of sort of big moments in my career, it's terrible because the pandemic was when things really kind of took off. And I mean, it's so terrible. I feel like whenever I'm talking about my career doing well, it's because something awful's happened.
Okay. So if something really bad happens next week, phone you, Rosie. We'll know it's all going really well for you.
But yeah. I think deciding to go into comedy was a big thing. But yeah,
cool. Would you say you're ambitious?
Yes, I would say I'm ambitious. I sometimes feel like I get I wouldn't say I'm ruthless. I know people who are really ruthless. I know people who at drama school who are really ruthless and are now doing well, and you go, yeah, you were always going to do well.
What do you mean by, what does ruthless mean to you in your world?
It means, my friend used to say, I remember she was saying this about an actress we knew, and it made me laugh so much. And she said, she's the kind of person who would sell her granny to get a job. And then she went, have my granny. She's great. No, she's fine. She can go down the mine. She may look weak, but no, she can carry things. She's really good. Just take her. Put her down there. She's fine. Give me the job. That kind of person. But kind of person who you feel like would throw you under the bus.
So you're not ruthless, but you are ambitious.
Yes, I am ambitious. I sometimes wish I was a bit more... a bit more confident. I think one thing, and I don't know if this is being a woman or just me, I think men are very good at going, this is what I can achieve and this is what I will do. And I think women are a bit more at going, look, this is what I have achieved and what I have done. And I wish I was a bit more the former. I think sometimes I get a bit... I get a bit of imposter syndrome, which holds me back. Sometimes it's that mental thing where you go, I know I should, if I went in here more ballsy, I could. And then sometimes I'm in that mood and sometimes I'm really not. But yeah, I'm ambitious.
What are you a beginner at right now?
A beginner at? I don't know.
Okay. Looking back, what's the achievement you're proudest of? A tour, one of your viral videos, a book, making people laugh?
I was really proud of my book, and I thought it was really good and really funny. And I think it slightly got screwed over because it was called Why We Were Right, and it was written as my MP, and the whole book was just going through Boris Johnson's government and Boris to Rishi, and explaining why all of their bad decisions were actually really good decisions. And the idea was, got picked up by Penguin, and the idea was it was going to come out in the run-up to the general election.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened, and it was due to come out in July, and then and all the intel said that the election was going to be in October.
Oh.
And then of course what happened was the election happened in July, and it was a real shame. And the book still came out, but like the whole kind of, we'd had this whole sort of
the plan was
and that was a real shame. But I was really proud of that book because I felt it was I loved writing it, and I felt it was well researched, and I am proud of it. Yeah.
If you could sit with your younger self, as a teenager, what would you tell her?
I think I'd tell her to lighten up, but I think I'd also tell her to just have more confidence. I think sometimes the things that have held me back is not being believing in myself more. And if I'd done that earlier, I probably would have got here sooner.
As you know, the podcast is called Places She Shapes. So I have 3 questions around places, she and shapes. So places, you're in a room with everyone you've ever met, dead or alive, excluding your immediate family, who would you look for first?
Oh, that's such a great question. So wait, I'm with everybody that I've ever met dead on live, but excluding my family, who would I?
You know, excluding your, you know, siblings and your brother and sister, who would you look for? You'd be like, oh, I really wish so and so was here.
Yeah. Oh, well, can I? Well, the first thing that just came to my head, my grannies both died when I was in my teens, and they had Alzheimer's. So it was only when I was really little that I kind of knew them as them.
Yeah. Oh,
I'd love to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
The she question, who's the woman you turn to for advice and why?
It depends what the advice is.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me a few then.
Okay. I turn to my my sister is so empathetic. She's such a sympathetic and emotionally intelligent person. So I think if it's about if I'm sort of maybe having a disagreement with somebody, or my heart's been broken, I think I'd probably talk to her.
Younger sister?
Older sister.
Older sister. Okay.
And if it was kind of career, or if it was about comedy sketch or comedy, I would probably talk to my friend Davina Bentley, who is a comedian and who is so funny. And
would she give you practical advice, or was she just sort of a cheerleader?
She both. Okay, I think great. She's a cheerleader and she's practical. And then if I wanted advice on something, I think quite cerebral, I'd turn to my friend. I don't know. I'm so lucky. I've got such brilliant female friends. Laura Rossi, who is an actress who I was at drama school with, who's so clever. And yes, I would talk to her. Yeah.
Amazing. And then the final one, shapes. How would you shape your ideal day?
My ideal day?
Yeah.
Well.
Keep it clean, please.
There would be sex in there.
Okay, good.
No, I would get up. One nice thing about being self-employed and about being a comedian is not having to get up early anymore.
Okay. What time would you get up then?
So ideally, I like to get up at about 9 or 9:30, between 9 and 9:30. Okay. And then I would want to go for a run. I like running. I'm not a very fast runner, so it's always slightly embarrassing because there's always people like speeding past me.
Yeah.
But I like it. Sets me up for the day. And if I'm in the right frame of mind, it feels, I can think about my day and what I want to do. So yes.
Do you stop and go, oh, that's a great idea, and write notes on your phone, or?
No, but sometimes it depends what kind of mood I'm in. But yeah, so I would go for a run, and then I would meet someone for brunch. I love a really.
What would your brunch order be? Overpriced. What would be the food order?
What would be my food order? There's so many different. I mean, London is really good for
it's
brunch.
Great for great brunches. Yeah.
Have you been to the Pavilion Cafe in Victoria Park?
I have not.
They do really good brunches. They do a Sri Lankan brunch, which is kind of like with the roti and all sorts of different things. And then they also do this brunch, which is just sort of salmon and an egg, but everything is so sort of, and tomatoes, but everything is so fresh and brilliant.
Okay. Right. So brunch.
Brunch with a friend.
Okay.
Then putting the world to rights.
Okay. Then what's happening?
Then I would, ideally I would sit and I would cook, I would write and create something brilliant.
Of course, yes.
And that just depends on the day, because some days you're going, there's nothing going on in here. So ideally I would do that. Then in the afternoon I would have sex.
Okay.
That's what I would do if it's my ideal day.
And in the evening, are you on stage? Are you
Yes.
performing? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, to a sellout crowd.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
Crowd goes wild.
Yeah, and then a really good dinner.
Excellent.
I really like food. Though actually, the hard thing about whenever I'm doing a tour, dinner is really hard knowing when you can have dinner, because usually a show starts at 7:30. You don't want to eat just before.
No, but you might not be on till 9.
Yeah. And then, well, it's fine. If I'm just doing a 20-minute slot, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. But if I'm doing an hour show or an hour and a half show or 2-hour show, then I don't want to eat before. I don't want to feel full on stage. But then if you come out afterwards, everywhere's closed, and it's so hard to eat healthily on tour.
You end up with a kebab.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. A McDonald's in a Premier Inn has happened a few times. Yeah.
Rosie, thank you so much. Been brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Places She Shapes podcast here on YouTube and leave a like on the video if you've enjoyed it.
Okay, let's take it from the top.